A to the K.
To the K.
To the K.
Coming up tonight in the Ringside Report. The WWE producer who produced main events at WrestleMania quits.
Cody Rhodes reveals he and Tony Khan drifted apart.
Jerry the King Lawler returning to Raw commentary.
Undertaker didn't return AJ Styles' call after the Boneyard match.
We have WWE's Nash Carter accused of domestic violence by Impact's Kimber Lee.
Jeff Jarrett comments on Ring of Honor purchase.
Jon Moxley currently dealing with hamstring injury.
Rick Boogs gives WrestleMania injury updates.
And Arn Anderson talks AEW life without Cody Rhodes. Anthony, when's all that coming up?
It's all coming up right fucking now.
Yes, it is. So, let's kick things off by talking about Pat Buck, Anthony, WWE producer who was responsible for the production of the Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar match, as well as Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. So, two very high-profile matches. Shocked the wrestling world, if you will, and certainly his colleagues when he announced he's quitting the company, literally right after WrestleMania. He later went on to kind of clarify this on Twitter, saying, "As a producer/agent, I feel I've accomplished everything I wanted to do within WWE in the last 3 years. My endless gratitude beams from working with so many wonderful talent, especially the ultra-talented women's division. To my producer brothers and sister, you are the greatest collection of misfits I've ever been with. I've already missed my second family. Thank you, John Laurinaitis, for bringing me into this wonderful group. And thank you, Freebird, for being our foul-mouthed general. And also to my fellow New Yorker, Paul Heyman, thanks for providing a mitzvah and helping this Gentile out." He also went on to thank the production truck and a couple of other departments as well within WWE, but also said that he looks forward to using his time to return and expand his training, schools, promotions, working all over, sleeping in his own bed more than twice a week, and to his wife and his little baby. I don't know how you put up with this, Gypsy. I love you both. Dada will be home soon. So, yeah, clearly, words from a guy who just feels like he's, how can you top producing the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, as it was, booked as, and has decided to kind of just step away. But yeah, I think could be a big loss for them. Obviously, he's given so much trust to produce the biggest matches. Who will take over? How will this affect the match quality and output going forward?
I mean, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Because, like you say, you can't deny the matches he has been in control of have been the better matches on the card. So it's a clear sign or testament to his ability. I mean, can you think of anyone who could step up into the mantle, Carl? I know Shane McMahon's had his turn at this sort of thing, and it's been rather questionable. But do you think we could see someone sort of take the reins, as it were?
I think there's a few different people who, like the likes of Jamie Noble, Tyson Kidd, people that have been getting kind of really good reviews for the work that they've been doing in a kind of producer role. So, I think even like Gregory Helms has been doing quite a lot of production as well for the company in terms of putting matches together and stuff like that. So obviously they've got a lot of producers there now. So I guess it's just going to be a case of kind of shifting them around a little bit and giving some of them a little bit more higher profile matches to work with. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how it all unfolds really. Obviously when Pat Patterson passed away, obviously it was a massive loss to the company. He was responsible for the production of so many great matches. So now obviously Pat Buck is stepping away. Maybe they need to find another Pat.
Maybe that's the clear sign of it.
Maybe.
That's your middle name, right?
It is now. Get me a job in the production team. I'm all over. But yeah, so fair play to him. Obviously, hope he gets the much needed and well deserved kind of time with his family after what sounds like a very grueling schedule for WWE over the past 3 years.
Oh, it must have been. It must have been, to be fair. But yeah, no, hats off to him. Like, he's done some incredible work, and like you say, totally deserves the time off.
Indeed.
Can't wait to see him in AEW. I kid. They don't all have to go there, just most. Anyway, I kid again. Next one, Callum. I'm almost a little bit loath to talk about this one, and I kind of alluded to this fact before. But let's talk about it, right? It's the fact that Cody Rhodes, in a recent interview with BT Sports, because BT Sport can get interviews with AEW people, just saying. Erin. Anyway, so Cody, in this interview, he mentioned that he and Tony Khan were drifting apart. And it's this kind of thing that I'm kind of like, you know what, he left respectfully, he's joined WWE, I mentioned this before, with a reason. It doesn't really need to be talked about. We don't need to keep harping on it. Why'd you leave? And this was not a successful dig anyway. And it's no disrespect to BT Sport. I'm actually going to ask a question that everyone's asking. Cody kind of alluded to a personal matter, but didn't really go into the nature of it, and said he wouldn't go into the nature of it for that matter. But he referred to the fact that they were drifting apart, and talked about everything that they built together and how much respect he has for Tony. But it's this sort of thing that I'm like, and this is where I'm going to speculate, and this is why I kind of didn't really want to talk about it too much, because it's just my little soapbox to speculate on. There's no fact in this really, but it's this sort of thing of like, he basically wasn't getting what he wanted from what I could see, and was kind of like, well, we're drifting apart, this isn't good. And it's like, I feel like it's very much like Tony did need to take, I'm not saying Tony's like the best ever, he should have took control, but it's his company and he needs to start taking control of stuff. And Rhodey, Cody really needed that sort of control in place anyway. Like, I won't go into it all again, but I feel like the control over the booking is something that he does need. I think that's why he needs WWE in a lot of senses. But yeah, I mean, the interview, it's one to listen to, Carl. It was an interesting one. He was very respectful about how he dealt with it. He's not suggesting there's any sort of bad feeling between the two of them, but they're not as close as they used to be. Companies apart now, but he's again gone back into that whole thing about the part of who he is, and it's 10 years he spent in WWE, and obviously the last 6 in Ring of Honor, New Japan, AEW, etc. But it falls back to that whole thing of he just had to go back, and he had his reasons to go back, and it just makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, definitely does. It's interesting now with hindsight to wonder what Cody's vision ultimately was with AEW. Obviously, he had the whole kind of breaking of the throne, and very much wanting to be a direct competitor with WWE, which I don't think Tony Khan and the other, well, they're not even EVPs anymore, are they? But the other ones who were EVPs, I don't think that was a vision that they shared. And I think as time's gone on, Tony Khan's taken more and more control. He literally books the show, is responsible for every single aspect of it now, to the point where the rest of them aren't even EVPs anymore. It's just Tony Khan's thing. So, yeah, whether it's a difference in terms of vision, or maybe Cody just, ultimately, yeah, he just, I said to you before, he was never going to win the WWE title when he was in AEW, was he? And it's something he wants to do. He's got to retire soon, so.
And again, purely speculative, but you got to wonder, like, maybe it was a lot harder to relinquish a lot, because let's face it, Cody very much, and he even refers to it in this, like, he started this whole movement in Ring of Honor, and he started this whole movement like with All In, and Tony bankrolled that. That's fine, and he's not sort of taking away from Tony, but like essentially it's this thing that Cody feels he made and is now sort of getting it taken off him, to the point that I'm actually curious how he felt about Tony buying all the Ring of Honor footage, because he's got the whole back catalogue of Ring of Honor and a lot of stuff that Cody did with them. So it's like literally got full control of that or that WWE time, or that non-WWE time for him, bar New Japan, obviously. But no, it's curious. You just wonder, don't you? Like, I'm sure if I was in Cody's situation, I'd be a bit like took it all away, took it all away,
I need my freedom.
Sorry, I couldn't resist going into the song. But yeah, I don't know. It must be a strange feeling. Like I'm not entirely against Cody when I'm saying like he needs that control that WWE are gonna sort of give him. Like I totally get why it's hard to like it's his baby in a way, when he made it, and I can understand why he'd feel that way and why it'd be really hard to sort of to not agree with the guy who basically owns it. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll never know the truth of it, but I do like how he's handling it. The people are asking the question relentlessly, aren't they? So he can't just be like, not to talk about it, but he's being respectful in the way he does. So fair enough, professional through and through.
Indeed. So the next one to talk about, Anthony. Jerry the King Lawler is going to be making his way back to our television screens pretty much imminently. He has revealed that on Raw Talk that he's going to be returning to Monday Night Raw for the next few weeks as Corey Graves goes on his honeymoon.
At least we don't have to watch Corey Graves make out with his wife.
Well, that's true. Other random women that Jerry the King Lawler will choose to make out with on the show is still to be questioned. But a kid, of course.
He's just going to try and trick Carmella.
Yeah.
Why she's not on the honeymoon, I don't know.
I would love that. That'd be so funny. But yeah, obviously...
That's why he signed up. He said, do you want to fill in for Corey Graves? And he got the wrong end of the stick.
Yeah.
Didn't think it was going to be commentary.
That would make sense. But no, so basically, Carmella and Corey are set to get married tomorrow, I believe, on Thursday. And so, yeah, I imagine pretty much from next week's Raw for 2 or 3 weeks, if not a little bit more, Jerry the King Lawler is going to be kind of covering for Corey Graves in his position. So it'd be nice to see the King back on commentary. Obviously, one of the staples of the Attitude Era, along with good old JR. So it'd be an interesting time to have Jerry the King and JR both back on commentary for separate companies. But yeah, I've always been a big fan of King, and I don't think his style is necessarily kind of moved well into the modern world of which we live.
Nah, you know what we need? We need a confused old man on commentary. That's what we need.
Exactly, talking about young, animals. I mean, I should have said puppies. That would have sounded just like that sounded
animals.
I
think actually made it sound a little bit worse.
Yeah, a little bit.
But no, I think, and I'm not going to try and sort of, throw a bit of gas on this fire, but a lot of people were pointing out on the pre-show for WrestleMania, Kayla was very much outnumbered by old dudes. And it's like, yeah, kind of got a point there.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it was somewhat refreshing having Beth Phoenix on commentary for NXT for that stint that she did. So surprising that they haven't actually gone down that route yet. I know to be fair, they had Renee Paquette on commentary once or twice, didn't they? And I think she did a really good job.
It's not a WWE name.
It is. It is now. Damn it. But yeah. So, yeah, looks like we're getting Jerry the King, but does make you think, could we have gotten someone else? Could they have had a Kayla or somebody step up onto commentary?
It would have been an interesting shout, but nah. Women can't do commentary, Carl. It's silly. I joke, of course.
True.
I have to point that out because people don't take it as a joke. They might come up and slap you or something. Anyway.
Again.
So, Carl, the next one. With the trolling headline that I gave, because fuck it, why not? Let's have some fun. AJ Styles has been recently talking about The Undertaker and the Boneyard match. And why has he been talking about that? Well, The Undertaker's recently been inducted into the Hall of Fame, Carl, and made and I assume just a little tease. I assume there was no true intent behind it, but the whole never say never element of it. And could he come back? Could he have another? No, probably not. AJ Styles has talked about the Boneyard match, about the reaction it got, and he's actually referred to the fact that he was saying to the Undertaker, or trying to convince the Undertaker to come out of retirement, and ultimately he decided it was the right time to hang up his boots. But and the comment was made quite playfully, but he actually said that I think we all knew once the Boneyard match got the reaction that it did, that might be it. He said, I called and he didn't return my calls because he knew, hey, he's going to convince me to have another match. So what I find interesting about this, and I'll thank Ringside News, why did I put an R on there? I don't fucking know. I'll thank Ringside News for the quotes there. what I found really interesting about the comments was not so much that he's like, yeah, he's done. You know, he wouldn't even answer me calls. It's the fact that it would take a phone call to convince him. Is kind of the suggestion I've got there. So like, could we see another Undertaker match? It sounds like he might be very easily swayed by the right person.
Mm-mm. It's mad that AJ Styles believes that he would be that person. Like, I get it if Vince called him up and he'd be like, "Oh, Vince is calling me. He's going to want me to have a match. I can't answer the phone." But really, AJ Styles
is ignore Vince's phone. You know that.
Well, yeah.
Like the bat phone in that house.
Yeah, but no, it's interesting for AJ to think like, would we have got Undertaker versus AJ 2? You know, Boneyardia? I don't really know.
Even bonier than the last.
Yeah. So who knows? But yeah, I don't know. I don't think he will come back. And it's probably a silly thing. It's bite me in the ass. But I know he did the whole never say never thing. But it probably is the right thing for him to do now. Just to like.
I think it's quite poignant. Never say never, and then like an 80-odd-year-old Vince McMahon got a Stone Cold Stunner on WrestleMania.
If you can call it that.
I mean, okay, let's give it what it is. It was two old men having a scrap, and they did all right, to be fair. But all laugh at the nostalgic pop, and it's like, I get why you say never, because you probably wouldn't have, if you'd have asked Vince last year whether he was going to be on WrestleMania in any capacity, he probably would have said no. So, and you know what? He's still quite jacked for an old man, isn't he? To be honest.
He is, to be fair. Yeah, fair play to the guy. Fair play. So yeah, Undertaker doesn't like AJ Styles, is what I took from that. Oh,
That's
honey, AJ's calling me again.
He now ignores all his calls.
Yeah, and then he just...
AJ's so tone deaf, he's like, it's probably because he doesn't want to have another match. Yeah. He knows I'll convince him. He doesn't hate me.
Taker's just sludger there. Fucking hate that guy.
Hate that guy.
So yeah.
That's from?
No idea.
Film it, that's from, isn't it?
No idea.
It's a Mel Brooks film. Anyone can help me out, that'd be great.
Indeed. So this next one is... it's a bit of a somber one, really. So, obviously, Kimber Lee, who is currently with Impact Wrestling, alleged this week that her husband, who is WWE NXT's Nash Carter, who you may know as one half of the new NXT Tag Champions MSK, had physically abused her a year ago. She's quoted as saying, "I'd love to be excited for Nash Carter right now, but I've hid his abuse for too long. No one should be abandoned and silenced in hopes of keeping a career." She's since deleted that tweet and replaced it with one saying that she was proud after he won the tag titles, and then going on saying that they're working through things and are going to seek some therapy. However, a couple of days later, she has now tweeted 2 photos that show her with some facial injuries, and basically alluded to the fact that Carter had basically split her lip open. So she tweeted, "Hey, WWE NXT, this is my face after your tag champ got wasted and hit me so hard he split my lip open. He told me I'm a wrestler, so I'm always marked up. I've hid this for a year and even forgave him, but I can't hide it anymore." She's since gone on to post other things as well, one of which being a picture of him with a Hitler-style mustache doing a Nazi salute. So very much a bit of a crazy time. Now, the plot thickened on this a little bit further when his tag team partner, Wesley's wife, actually weighed in, commenting, "Just so everyone's aware, Nash Carter has been living with Wes and I for months, ever since she was in the hospital, which she checked herself into. He's actually been the one trying to avoid her and her mental abuse. They haven't been together. He went to one therapy session." So it all sounds very, very messy.
Pretty wild. Yeah.
So who knows? Obviously, there's 2 sides to every story. Always.
There is. Sadly, you hope that you can't hope anything. I was going to say you hope that she's not lying, but then that would make him a horrible bastard. So you kind of don't want it. It's like I hate it, like trying to weaponize that sort of thing. Like women genuinely go through that sort of stuff and need to be taken seriously. So if she's a liar, it's a horrendous thing to do. Mm-hmm. In that sense, you know what I mean? Because it's trying to weaponize something that people actually go through, and it then discredits people. It makes people then speculate, and you shouldn't have to speculate. Obviously, you always have to find the truth of the matter, but you know, you I don't know. part of me is like, I really don't want her to be a liar, but the obviously the counter point to that would then be that Nash Carter's a horrible bastard. So I don't know. It's crazy.
It's such a difficult one because part of me naturally thinks like, oh, don't post all this shit on social media, sort it out in private. Then on the other side of that, like if I don't know, you're trying to kind of shed light on the type of domestic abuse that happens, then you kind of like, well, that's a public forum. So I don't really know what the right thing is. But
honestly, on some level, I get why he's a public figure, she's a public figure, and she's felt the need to post publicly. I could understand those posts. It's when you're saying she's putting up stuff like him with a Hitler mustache and stuff like that. It's like, that's just like, that doesn't need to be done. Do you know what I mean? Like she's explaining the situation, and that's like where she could have left it, but like then you're just sort of going at it for like, I don't know, like it's really weird because I'm not saying like even if he is a like horrible bastard, then you shouldn't be putting him up looking like Hitler. It's like, it just seems like a unusual thing to do when you're going through trauma with someone like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I take your point on the other posts. It's like, well, you're trying to highlight what people go through and trying to almost embolden people to speak up, but.
Yeah,
it's pretty fucked up. It's hard to even talk about, isn't it? Because it's like we don't know what the truth of the matter is, and we can't make assumptions because that's a dangerous thing to do. But neither scenario is great, is it?
No, it's it is a tough one because where's the line when it comes to privacy versus kind of like proof or kind of awareness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really know, but it sounds like for the pair of them, they've both got a lot of stuff and a lot of things kind of going on. So I hope they sort it out. I don't know whether they're still married, but I mean, I think in one of the tweets she said she's proud of her husband. So I believe they still are. So I just hope that they get some kind of resolution that they're both obviously happy with.
Yeah. You just got to hope they both get the help that they need.
Yeah.
Like whatever that help is in whatever form that is,
Yeah.
They're obviously both going through it, so.
Yeah, so very messy one,
Crazy.
not nice, but yeah, hopefully as you said, hopefully they both get the support they need.
Indeed. Right, so let's move it on to other topics, Carl. I'm not going to try and make a jokey segue because it's hard to leave that topic in a jokey manner. However, I'm not going to take this topic too seriously. So, Carl, quite recently, Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor, bought all their previous content, owns the name, all that lovely good stuff. And I know what you were thinking at the time. That you were thinking the exact same thing I was thinking, and I'm sure the entire wrestling world were thinking, what does Jeff Jarrett think about all this? Well, fear not, Carl, fear not, because he has recently spoke up, got some information from Wrestling Inc. We now know how he feels about the situation. It's not good, Carl. It's not good. Now, to be fair, he's referred to it as like an AEW light, which isn't great. Considering this man was heavily involved in Impact, when it wasn't as good.
Don't forget GCW.
Just saying. Let's not forget GCW. Anyway, so.
Oh no, sorry.
He has gone on to say he doesn't.
What was it? It wasn't GCW. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he was there for that, but he started his own one, didn't he? Global Force. I'm thinking of
Wrestling.
Global Force Wrestling.
Global Force. So, I'll get your honest opinion in a sec. I'm just like sort of poking fun a little bit at the minute, but obviously he has been clear he doesn't know enough about Tony Khan's vision for everything, which is fair because does he even know Tony Khan? I don't know, and it's one of them where he's basically. I'll paraphrase if you want to read the full article. It's on Wrestling Link, but he's sort of almost fearful, I suppose, that it's going to become an AEW light. Is sort of how he's phrased it, and he said he's not sure that's the recipe for success, and it's one of them where I'm looking at like I don't know how to feel about Jeff's opinion, and this sounds a bit horrible, Carl, but you might be able to shed some light on this because I don't know Jeff Jarrett well enough, but the projects I've known him involved in haven't ever really panned out very well. So he obviously knows what he's doing in the business enough to start a promotion and to run a promotion, that sort of thing. But what do you make of his concept on what makes a good promotion? Do you think he's qualified to, probably more so than us, but like while we're bitching about him, do you think he's qualified enough to tell sort of Tony Khan, to even put the concept of Tony Khan's vision of Ring of Honor down before it's even happened?
No, I don't. No. I don't believe
Weird.
he is at all. He's such an interesting one, Jeff. I mean, I'm trying not to shit all over the guy, but I don't particularly respect his opinions on a lot of things. Would be the best way to put it. And I think, I don't know, he's another Eric Bischoff in that sense. He's a guy who at one time I thought, yeah, okay, this guy is, he's got an idea about wrestling and that kind of thing. But the more and more as time goes on, the more and more you realise that he probably really didn't. And similar. I'm glad that we didn't put Eric in the news this week, because he's just like, I absolutely love the fact that Cody Rhodes is back in WWE where he belongs, and the production and this, and basically, sucking off WWE because AEW don't want him. And I kind of fear that that's a very similar story with Jeff, to be fair, where it's easy to put down the new little guy when you weren't successful doing it yourself. Basically. Yeah. So, what would Jeff Jarrett's vision for Ring of Honor be? I would, as he said in the article, because I'd love to know, because I can't imagine that having any success either, to be fair.
Honestly, a lot of the way he talks, like, it doesn't really give you an exact, like, roadmap of how he'd do it. He's basically refers to the fact that he watches all different shows, he's seen these sort of things before, and he's referred to AAA a couple of times, but he's like, I watch AEW, I watch Impact, I watch AAA, and basically that. I think he's almost, and I could understand it maybe better if we weren't going from Jeff, but I think he's almost just fearful that Ring of Honor's not going to be what it was under Tony. But you've got to imagine Tony hasn't bought it to change it; he's bought it to maybe give it a bigger spotlight. I certainly hope that's the case anyway. But in most of his comments, he hasn't really said how he would do it. It's more just that, look at all the stuff I watch and the stuff I know.
I mean, to be fair to Tony Khan, he's been a lifelong Ring of Honor fan, and he's bought it not necessarily because he thinks it's going to be a massive money-making project, but more to make sure that it goes into some decent hands, I guess. So I imagine he will respect the traditions of Ring of Honor, because he loves Ring of Honor. So in terms of whether it's going to be a better or more amazing Ring of Honor, I don't really know, because we don't really watch it. We might have seen some old matches from back in the day.
You and I would never be qualified to say, even if we start watching Ring of Honor because it's now on a network spot, and obviously we're more invested because of the AEW connection. We're never going to know what Ring of Honor was truly like. We weren't we weren't following it on the indies well enough to know that. I've seen a few matches from it,
Exactly.
But we'll never really know whether he's ruined the vision, and I'm sure there's some like snobs who have done that. He's changed the colour of the R slightly, so we don't like him. There's always going to be people who don't like what he's done to it, even if it's the most minor fucking thing.
Yeah, I mean, all I will say about Jeff Jarrett, for someone who is trying to portray themselves as having such a fine taste in wrestling and what the right thing and best thing is to do. Like, this is the same guy who rocked up in GCW to referee a match with like Effie and something. Well, yeah, I think he had a match with Effie, and then he showed up to referee something because.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It's like, well, okay, was that your vision for amazing wrestling? That's not me shitting on GCW either, by the way, but pick your battles, I guess. Easy to take shots at, Tony and AEW and Ring of Honor, but maybe look at some of the decisions that he's making himself.
And maybe take a good fucking look at yourself, Jeff.
Yeah.
No, I'd say not shitting on Jeff's opinion, but I don't know. I feel like it's a massive lot of speculation to have before anything's actually changed. Like, he's just thrown a fear out there that is like kind of unnecessary at this point.
Yeah.
And don't be wrong, we do a lot of speculating as well, but we haven't got the same platform, so. Okay. I don't care if I'm a hypocrite.
That's our motto. So, on to the next one then. So, Jon Moxley is potentially injured, according to Uncle Dave Meltzer. He revealed on his show that Moxley is currently nursing a hamstring injury, saying that it's something the former champion suffered during training, and it's unclear whether or not it's gotten worse when he's been working in the ring. However, expectation is that he's going to be continuing to wrestle regularly with the issue. So that must be a good sign in terms of its severity if he's able to continue pushing through. Now, Moxley literally had about 4 matches this weekend. So he worked Dynamite against Jay Lethal. He was involved in Bloodsport. He was involved in GCW. I think he had something else going on as well. So, it doesn't seem like it's slowing him down if he has got the injury. But yeah, I don't know. Usually doing something to your hamstring, from what I know about football, doing something to your hamstring is pretty bad and usually prevents you from doing many things. So if it is a hamstring injury, and I like cheese strings, that's a fantastic combination. But so yeah, I don't know. Is this just another Meltzerism? Has he really got a massive kind of injury or anything?
No, I think Moxley's proven that he's just as good as Omega. So he's going to wrestle with injuries just to prove that he can,
Well, maybe. But I mean,
I suppose you go, well, what severity is the injury? Is it something he's nursing and being careful with, or is it it's obviously not totally debilitating him because we're seeing him wrestle an awful lot? So, like you say,
yeah, exactly. Obviously, he's just had something. Obviously, the Blackpool Combat Club angle kicking off, so he needs to be heavily featured to keep that going. He's booked for to face Will Ospreay in New Japan, I think. In a week or two's time, so he has got a lot going on. So I don't think he's going to be stepping away anytime soon. But if he's able to kind of go at that speed and that amount of matches, then you would like to assume the injury is only minor. And hopefully, obviously, it is, because that would suck for him to be out injured.
Yeah. Oh, hopefully, if he is injured, then like you say, it's only minor and it's not going to cause him any problems.
Indeed.
But speaking of injuries, Carl. We all watched night 1 of WrestleMania, and we all saw Rick Boogs lift 2 people up and drop 2 people down. Now, unfortunately, we saw the injury. We saw it happen. There was no 2 ways about it. He had hurt his leg in some capacity. The match was cut short, and of course I'm talking about Rick Boogs because I failed to actually fucking say that. And after the match, Michael Cole declared at the time that it was a torn quadricep and torn patella tendon, Carl, that Rick Boogs has suffered, and that he would need to undergo surgery. Now, in an update, and I'm going to read this one out because it just amused me the way he's put it, Rick Boogs put an update on his Instagram. I want to say it was the following day. And he said, "From the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, having my beautiful wife with me to experience my first WrestleMania, getting the incredible opportunity to open the show, being able to demonstrate brute strength in front of millions of viewers. Unfortunately, the doctor told me my quad was too strong for the tendon, and it was flexing so hard it ripped the tendon totally off the bone. I'm still incredibly grateful for the experience and for all the love and support. History proves I will come back bigger, better, and stronger. It's a mindset." So, love the positivity out of him straight out the gate. I love the way he commented on it. It's just muscle was just too strong for the tendon. That's naturally, it's just an animal. This guy. So he's basically within that, whilst being positive and somewhat playful with his update, he has confirmed that he has torn the tendon, which is not great. But it's believed now from the back of that and from the confirmation of these injuries that he's likely going to be out of action for 6 to 12 months, typically, for this sort of injury. So we haven't got an exact. Obviously, it'll depend on his recovery and such after that. He can't rush himself. But, we've seen people like, I don't want to say John Cena didn't suffer the exact same injury, but we've seen wrestlers in the past return surprisingly quick. So you just never know with these things. But he's just got to get the right amount of time in that he needs, So we might not see Rick Boogs for a while. I don't know what Shinsuke's going to do. He has to play his own guitars now.
No, it's a massive shame, and obviously when we saw it live, we immediately just kind of was like, "Oh, that looks nasty," and
it was gross. You could see it pop when you was.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a hell of a long time to be away, but exactly the right kind of mindset that he's showing, and he's got determination there to come back and to be better than ever, really. So wish him the speediest but the safest of recoveries, and yeah, I'm hoping that he comes back and can be thrust into something else for himself as opposed to the kind of sideman for Shinsuke. So
I assume the spot was planned when Jimmy or Jay jumped on as well. That was the idea. They were both going to be piled up there.
I'd imagine so, yeah. Otherwise, it'd be like, God damn it, Jimmy, why did you jump on too?
Damn it, Jimmy! I mean, fair play to the Usos. They probably didn't think nothing of it because Roman's been carrying them for the last, 2 years.
Hey!
I'm here all week.
Love it. But yeah, obviously, terrible news. But yeah, hopefully he comes back. And yeah, who knows what's next for Shinsuke? But hopefully when Rick Boogs comes back, it's for him and he gets his own kind of
honestly, it'd be a good time to not that I'm totally against him, but it'd be a good time to split them and let him have a solo run when he does come back off injury. To be fair,
definitely. So who knows?
And if you're gonna pick Rick Boogs or Madcap Moss, I know who I'd pick.
Indeed.
For the solo run, that is.
Yeah, me too. Which leads us on to the last piece of news this week, Anthony, and Arn Anderson reflects on life in AEW without Cody Rhodes. And it's
I
a
love
bit
that
of
as a title. I think I wrote it, but I love it as a title. It's like just picturing that guy who's just lifted up a pile of sand and he's just watching it drain out of his hands. Like that kind of moments,
Yeah.
What
to do without Cody? Arn has been quoted to say, now that there is no longer Cody, I'm no longer a coach, technically. As any young guy in the back that has a question or wants to ask my advice, it's not my job because I'm considered talent, but I'll help any one of those guys, or even a veteran for that matter. I've had a couple of nice discussions with CM Punk since he's been back. He would ask my opinion on different things. So I've got a lot of experience. That's just not my job. To be quite honest with you, even though I respect how much they call them coaches with AEW and how important they are with their wisdom, the BJs and the Jerry Lynns and the Dean Malenkos and the Billy Gunns who were assisting this young talent on trying to figure out what to do and how much to do or dial it down a bit. Right now, to be honest with you, I'm kind of in limbo. Basically just being there with Brock, supporting him. We're at all the TVs. The fact that we're not on TV a lot of the time is, we're still there and he's watching and he's learning. We do these AEW dark matches and I hope the fans know how to find those. That gives these young kids some reps that they normally wouldn't get, and it's in front of a TV audience.
I fucking hate everyone's perspective on AEW dark. I'm just going to say it right now, right? Everyone talks about AEW dark dark's the shittest title for it because everyone just thinks you can't find this fucking thing. It's a bunch of old men who've never fucking heard of YouTube the way they fucking talk about it. I hope people know where to find it. It's like, yeah, anyone who was born in the fucking 1990s knows where to fucking find it on, right? Why are we acting like YouTube's not a really popular medium?
I'm just flicking through all these channels.
I can't find dark.
What channel's it on?
And it just annoyed because they treat it like such a lower tier show, and it's like, this is kind of the future of wrestling for me. Like, it's gonna end up being this is why Fight TV is popular. It's an internet medium.
Yeah.
You're not looking down on a wrestling promotion that's on Fight TV.
No,
it's not all about the network. You know what I mean? And it just makes me laugh when they're daft like that.
I think
it's on YouTube, so it's obviously shit. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it does kind of come across as a bit of a shot, to be fair, which obviously, good old Glock that he is.
Glock.
Armed Anderson, as he's known. But he has got a little bit of a point in one way, though. I think, obviously, it's probably more difficult to, by happenstance, stumble upon an episode of AEW Dark on YouTube than it would be if it was on a TV show and you're flicking through and you were like, oh, there's some wrestling on, I'll watch it. So maybe he's coming out from that mindset.
How many people these days don't really watch wrestling and happen across it and go, oh, I might watch some wrestling? The people tuning in are fans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially for AEW. WWE probably gets a lot more casuals than AEW does, but they're usually wrestling fans. You're talking about a very small fraction of people who are like, oh, I don't know, I was just flicking through and I found it looked pretty good. That Brock Anderson guy, super talented.
Yeah, it's definitely a minority, I would say, especially with the amount of cord cutters and stuff, and just less people watching cable in general anyway, if it was on TV. But I don't know, I think you will get people who just flick through, and then even if it's just to find something for the background, they're like, I'll just stick the wrestling on while I'm doing something else, or while I'm on my phone, and then they just buy, just happen to see something. But yeah, it's not a weird take from Arn, but it's an interesting one, the fact that he's like, well, technically I'm not signed as a coach, I'm signed as talent, so I'm just kind of in limbo, just managing, my son And it's like, well, he is a really good man for the business, Arn, so you have to wonder why they haven't got him as some kind of coach or agent capacity within the company. But yeah, strange that he kind of finds himself in limbo now, because he's still there with, obviously, with Brock, isn't he? So.
It's, for me, though, I think this is a little bit of a hint, isn't it? He wants to be a coach. And honestly, like, Tony should sign him as one if he's not already. It's a bit of a weird situation, isn't it, to be in there as a coach unless Cody leaves. Like, he's more valuable as a coach than he is in on-screen talent. So, for me, it's like there's a natural progression there.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Do it, Tony. Do the right thing.
Do it, Tony. So yeah, life without Cody Rhodes is it's not good for Arn.
Indeed. It might even cost AEW an arm.
Good one. So yeah, that was the news this week. Bit of a mixed bag in there. There wasn't a, I don't want to shit on any of the news that we did talk about, but I wouldn't say there was like, we have some weeks and we're just like, there's so much going on, but like, yeah, there was some stuff. We managed to scrape together 9 things to talk about, basically, is what I'm saying.
No, like, it wasn't like the most, like, honestly, most, like, because I was scouring for the news, seeing what there was out there. 80% of it, Cody Rhodes returns to WWE, and it's like, well, we all know that.
We saw that. It's not really
every segment's going to mention that. There's no point mentioning it in the fucking news, is there? So, it's one of them weeks. A bit quieter than others, but there's still loads of shit going on. There's always shit going on.
There's always shit going down. Speaking of shit going down, For the Love of Wrestling 2 is going down in just around about 2 weeks' time. We're going to be there meeting some absolute legends of the wrestling biz. So here's a little...
legends in the social media game. Yeah, lads.
Oh, yeah. So check out this little teaser of what they've got in store at For the Love of Wrestling. And we will catch you on the flippy flips.
Flip flops.
For Love of Wrestling, Europe's largest wrestling convention, returns to the Exhibition Centre in Liverpool on the 23rd and 24th of April. Guests this year include Diva of the Decade, Trish Stratus, the Wrestling God, JBL, the Dudley Boys, Torrie Wilson, and just announced MJF from AEW. We will also be doing a Wyatt family reunion as we welcome Eric Rowan, the man formerly known as Braun Strowman, and indeed the Fiend Bray Wyatt. Also just announced is the man, the legend, the icon, Sting, and of course your Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. This and many, many, many more guests, as well as prop builds, Q&As with all of the wrestlers, and some of the biggest wrestling collections in the world on display from our exhibitors. Get your tickets at forloveofwrestling.co.uk or search Facebook or Twitter For the Love of Wrestling. For the Love of Wrestling, Europe's biggest wrestling convention, returns to Liverpool the 23rd and the 24th of April.
Hey guys, it's Georgia Smith here, and you've heard me on A2theK. These guys are awesome. Check it out. A2theK.
A2theK.